Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield here with an old friend and a huge star. Russell Watson, how are you?
I like the old friend bit.
20 years we've been doing this, but we've never filmed it before.
It's a first, isn't it, for both of us?
Sometimes you have to move with the times, don't you?
Well, I've been playing our interviews out on gramophones for the last 15 years. I thought it's time we showed them what you look like.
Yeah, well, when I was trying to explain a record player to the audience the other evening, I was on stage and I said, remember those old things that used to have four legs, used to stand in the corner, and you had your records at the front and your record player at the side, and then your radio at the side that you could dial in. Back in the day when you had to, dial your own radio stations and you didn't have presets. And I said, what were they called? And this chap shouted out, the gramophone! I said, I'm not that old.
I was thinking about driving here in the car to the first time we spoke, and there you were, just this young, talented guy who had this first album out that went to #1, and now you're the best-selling artist in British history in classical music. You're still selling out venue after venue, and 20 years later, you're still at it. Congratulations, you've made it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. When anybody says to me, give anyone any advice that's new, that's coming into the music industry, the best piece of advice that I can give is it doesn't get any easier. So you make your first record, your second record, which is the difficult one, and then you've got your third record, which is the even more difficult record. You've got to, as well as being able to perform and sing, I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realise, and that's why there's a lot of artists come in and disappear very quickly, is you also have to have a good business brain and a good business acumen as well. And top priority is looking after the fans.
Well, and they're your bread and butter, and I know the one thing you've always done is given them time, and you've never ripped them off. I think what's smart about your product is you sing live, you turn up, you always beat what their expectation is, and you keep coming back, and they want to see you. It's a two-sided trust, isn't it?
Yeah, the thing that the fans have been more to me than just a kind of conduit to make money. They've been through all the highs and the lows, or a lot of them have been through a lot of the highs and lows of my career, and have been a great support mechanism to me when things haven't been so good. And to find, to come out at the end of that proverbial tunnel and them still be there was a great feeling. And now, even, as I say, as you said, 20 years down the line, I'm still doing what I love more than anything.
And what I loved about the last tour and this tour and the forthcoming tour is it's as intimate as we're going to get you in these beautiful theatres. You could do arenas, do one of them, but you choose to do a lot of smaller venues and we get a much better show. You're going against the tide. But then I see this week the Beyoncés aren't selling out, the Taylor Swifts aren't selling out, they're giving away free tickets. So again, is this a business decision or is it to give the fans the best show you can give them?
No, it was, my gran passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. It was basically her decision. We were doing a gig in one of the big arenas, and my gran, after the show, I went over to her and I said, "Did you enjoy that, Gran?" And she went, "No, I didn't." And I went, "Why?" She said, "I was that far back, I had to watch you on the video screen. If I want to watch you on a video screen, I'll sit in the comfort of my own home with a cup of tea and put a video in my cassette player and watch you there."
Well, that told you.
She said the wheelchair access was terrible as well. She said, "I didn't like it and the place was freezing."
And that was her synopsis of the arenas.
And if your gran's thinking it, maybe others are too.
I don't know, but I do know that the fans would always say to me that they like to see me in the theatres as opposed to the arenas. I genuinely think that I am. There's such a when you walk on the stage of an arena and it's sold out, there is no better feeling. It's an incredible feeling to have that, such a vast amount of
Who are these people knocking outside of my dressing room?
Told you I wasn't a diva.
I don't know what he was doing either.
No, I don't either.
Just slightly inappropriate.
Random slapping going on outside my dressing room door. I'll be out in 5.
I'll follow him.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, the arenas, it's a brilliant feeling when you walk out on stage at an arena. But you don't get that connection that I absolutely live for, that you get in the smaller venues, in the theatres.
And again, you've still got this beautiful sound. I mean, you've got the lovely orchestra with you, and you always bring these choirs on the road. Again, all we really want is you. And I think I said to you probably 10 years ago or something like that, it wouldn't matter to me whether you were there with just a piano. We want to hear the voice.
Well, interestingly enough, it is just a piano tonight. It's a piano and choir tonight. We've got 3 different shows. We've got what in essence is our orchestral show, which we've done a few of recently. And then we've got our, what I call the canzoni setup, which is basically me and like a 7-piece group of musicians, all fantastic, top grade players, and the choir. And then we have the serenade setup, which means we can come to smaller places like this, which are only about 700 seats, and do these smaller shows with me and just a piano. And I love it. I would rather be on the road touring and singing than sat at home, waiting for, to sing at 5 or 6 arenas a year.
But I think that goes back to 25 years ago with what was that?
Twiddling my thumbs then, for the rest of the
I thought it was to do with the slapping noise.
Not before the concert.
But what's amazing, I mean, there's still the club act in you, isn't there, that wants to be out entertaining. You were not here to do one show a year just because you're big enough to do one show a year. I'm sure you could. You still love the feedback of the audience. You play with the audience. And one of the things I think is most brilliant about your act is you're always present. You're always aware of what's going on. You're not sort of phoning it in.
The responses, the connection that I have with the audience is born of, in essence, what I consider to be my apprenticeship, which was 9-10 years in the working men's clubs of the Northwest. And I remember I did a song a few years ago that Gary Barlow wrote, and we kind of got together, like collaborated to put this song together, and he produced it and everything. And it was funny because Gaz used to do the same circuit that I did. He used to do the North. In fact, it was funny because I used to see his name on the club circuit. He used to use the same agent as I used for that area as well. There was this Bob, I'm trying to remember his name, but we were having a chat about, doing these gigs where you kind of did double ups. You got your gear in your car and you went to one venue at 9 and then you went to do the last spot at another venue at 11 o'clock at night. And it was hard work. It was a tough slog, but it was absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant as building, you as an artist and being able to respond to any given circumstances, because you're walking in to audiences who essentially hadn't paid to come and watch you. They'd come for a game of bingo or to have a beer.
I was just going to say, you're always third on the bill to the buffet and the bingo. You're next. I mean, you're never going to be the most important.
One of my best build-ups ever was at the Philharmonic Club, where I did a season in Blackpool, and the chap comes on. He was an Irish bloke, and he says, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got your flyer coming up at 9:30, and then at the back of the room there's a lady who's selling freshly made sandwiches and pies. And then we got Russell Watson."
You should do a Frank Carson tribute act. I think you'd pull this off, Russell.
Frank was a friend of mine, an absolute beaut of a human being, a lovely, lovely man. I was very, very sad when he passed away.
I was thinking about you earlier on the show. I was at the funeral of Sir Ken Dodd, and he was sort of my mentor for 25 years. We had the great days, didn't we? I mean, and then before us had even better days. I wonder who there is today, if you're starting out, to look up to. There aren't as many of those icons who can teach you and inspire you. It's a tough time for people starting out.
I think because the industry at the moment is so transient. You get these things that are coming in with a massive bang, a huge explosion. They're all over everything, and then 2 years down the line, I wonder what happened to such a body. And I think, I'm very proud of the fact that I've been able to sustain my career for the length of time that I have. And as I say, that's down to the fact that I've treated my fans with respect. I'm not one of these people, you know, that, no, not signing autographs or anything like that. I need to get home now. You know, if there's people
Whose voice
there,
was that?
No one in particular.
No one.
No. It was, but I can't say.
And what these fans have done and what your success has proved is that you have one of the most fabulous houses in show business. We saw you on Through the Keyhole just a few weeks ago. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It took a lot of time to get it that way. I mean, and the missus is obviously, you know, I've been with her now. We've been together for coming up to 9 years. So her influence has been imprinted on the house as well, with all the decor and everything. But yeah, it's I'm very proud of it. We've lived there now, or I've lived there for 11 years, and Lou's been with me for eight and a bit years. So yeah, it's funny because, you know, when I first moved in, it was just 4 walls, and now it's a home, and there's laughter, and there's the dogs that are all crazy, and, you know, my daughters, and it's a wonderful place to live now.
It's more of a farm, though, really, when you think about it, isn't it?
I would say more of a menagerie.
What are we up to now?
Well, believe it or not, the missus has just come to me, and she's planning on extending the chicken pen so that we can walk in and stand up, you know, when we're feeding the chickens and the ducks. So yeah, it's ever expanding.
Yeah, I think their home will probably be bigger than mine by the end of it. It is incredible. Let's just go back 10 years. I mean, there you were meeting Louise, and then you'd gone through tough times and the kids and all this. Firstly, we always ask you the question, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, health-wise, you know, I feel strong at the moment. Not getting any younger, always conscious of that fact. You know, I think as we progress in years, we appreciate life a bit more.
Do you care what you look like as much as what you sound like?
I pride myself on my appearance. When I'm at home, I don't mind. I've got a baseball cap on, I don't shave, and I've got a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on, and I don't care what I look like. But on stage, I like to present myself well, because the music, a lot of the music that I perform deserves me to have a certain appearance. I think you know, it just doesn't. It wouldn't look right going on singing the Bach Gounod Ave Maria in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. You know, my accent has changed over the years, because, you know, when I first started, you know, 18, 19 years ago, it was very broad Salford. I go back home now, and my friends, you know, I'm seeing them in a couple of weeks' time. You know, we're getting together for a World Cup night at my house. And it's funny because, you know, when I first see them, one of, you know, my pals, Glevo, will say, "Tell you what, kid, your accent ain't half changed, hasn't it?" I'm like, "Do you think so? I personally don't notice it myself, but if you say so." That was a bit Michael McIntyre, wasn't it?
It was.
It was, yes, a little bit.
You need to do a lot more pacing around the stage, though, if you want to.
I know. And I think if I was on stage and I was pacing a bit more, then it would really be that.
Just do a cheaper suit, though. That's the thing.
Yes.
That doesn't fit you.
Quite. It's part of who he is, isn't it?
Let's move to love and happiness and the daughters and the family. I mean, it seems like you've got a dream life. When we saw you on Through the Keyhole, it looks ideal. Nothing's ever perfect, but compared to the alternative of what could have happened, it's pretty bloody good, isn't it?
It's never a dream life when you've got a teenager who's doing her exams, which Hannah has been recently, and hallelujah, they're over. So it's kind of like breathe and relax.
Do you take that as seriously as she does? You can't be one of these fathers that go, "Well, it's your problem, fail, loot."
No, I'm a driven human being, and I desperately wanted her to succeed, and I kept trying to imprint the importance of, you know, her academic status. I really want her to do well, and I have not. I've been on her back, and she has this tendency sometimes to be late, and I have been on her every morning, up school.
Strict dad, then.
Yes.
Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Yeah, well, you know what? My Father's Day surprise was wonderful, because the girls did this beautiful little book for me of what Dad represents, and they'd kind of done it all themselves, like 20 pages, and it actually made me well up, because my connection with my kids was heightened because of what I went through, where, you know, I was the protector and the one that did for the kids. All of a sudden, you know, when I was really seriously ill, that role reversed, and because of that, they are now, I think, even more protective of me than they ever would have been. And as a result of that, the relationship that I have with the kids is great. Becky works for me now. She does the merchandise. My youngest is here, and we're away next week. We've got 3 concerts in 4 days, so they're both coming with me. And that'll be nice, because now Hannah's finished her exams, she can put her feet up for a little while.
And what a beautiful way to celebrate with adults. You can have sort of a grown-up relationship as well. I suppose it's important not to allow them to revel in your success just because you've got it. They can't be entitled to your life. You've earned it, and I suppose so do they. Is that your point?
I've always told them, I mean, I do spoil them, there's no doubt about it, but I've always told them that, that they have to work hard to achieve in life. Nothing comes for free, and I'm not going to give handouts if they're just sat on the backsides all day vegetating on a couch watching television. I'm not going to support that lifestyle. But if they want to do something and they need support, with regards to, say, a business or something like that they're setting up, or when Becky expressed, wanting to come and work for me, and she designs all the programs now. She does the social media sites, the Facebook and Twitter. And it's good. She's given something back, and that's great.
I was saying to you last time we spoke on the phone that I don't know whether you quite understand how difficult it is to fill theatres, and it seems to me almost every single venue you book sells out. Do you appreciate how hard it is to do what you do that you make look so simple?
Yeah, but again, my attention to detail. So, for instance, we had the first show that we had on this little tour. Anyway, the first show that we had on the tour, it was at about 75%, and we were a couple of weeks out from the show. And I rang up the promoter and I said, 25% of the tickets are left. What are we going to do? So can we get a radio interview? Can we, Yes. So I've got my eye on the ball. I watch the figures. I want to make sure that when I go to a theatre, there's as many tickets sold as we can. So I'm across everything. And there's nothing that I don't, that I'm not on. So if we see something, and the show was a sellout in the end, because we did a little bit of extra promo and some Facebook activity, and so it's not always just a case of, here we are and it's sold out and wasn't that easy. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of extra work and an extra push for some of the venues.
Well, and now more than ever, I mean, since you started, there's so much more noise around everything. Everybody's fighting for attention. I suppose you've got to go and grab a bit of it. It's not going to come to you.
Well, there's a lot of hype around a lot of artists. There always will be. When something new comes out, there's always going to be hype around them. When I first came out, there was stacks of hype around me, and people were saying, he's only done that well because of his hype, and to an extent that was true, but I'm still here all these years later without the hype, and that's a test of an artist's mettle, is being able to sustain a career. Anyone in the industry that's able to sustain a career in the music industry for more than 10 years should get a gold watch.
I agree. I remember a night sat in bed, I phoned you after it, and I was watching Larry King live. I used to love that show at 2 a.m. over here on CNN, and there you were, and I thought, he's made it. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that.
And I remember I sang on the programme as well. I did the Va Pensiero from Nabucco, and Larry came over after I'd sung it, and he just looked at me and he went, wow, just wow. And that was all he said.
Just before we go, do the top 5 things that you've loved so far. I mean, the White House, the World Cups, the Wembleys, are these all in the top 5?
Yeah, the Pope at the Vatican, singing the Star Trek theme tune, first voice ever on a Star Trek theme tune. Everyone thinks it's Rod Stewart. It's it's the one on Enterprise. With the chap from. What's it called? Quantum Leap. Right. It's that one. That's me. So that was pretty good. The Commonwealth Games, the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games in Manchester as well. So, I mean, that was just, double whammy. That was incredible. Singing for the Emperor of Japan at the Imperial Palace, and then being invited to have dinner with him afterwards and his wife. That was surreal.
You always seem so normal to me and so relaxed, but also incredibly cool. Are you inside at these moments losing it like everybody else would be? Because, I mean, these are pretty important people.
No. there's obviously times where, as a human being, you are aware of the fact that you're doing something extra special, and you're aware of the fact that you sat with somebody that is, of a heightened level, to say, just sitting with my mates having a beer at home in Salford.
Well, you must feel like this right now.
You are an intimidating character, my dear.
It's the shirt, isn't it?
Yes, it is very much so. It's like
I feel slightly overdressed. I'm sorry.
I don't know whether to talk to you or read you. Is that hieroglyphics? But no, I mean, I don't get intimidated from the minute that I waltzed into, my first stadium at Old Trafford, when I sang in front of 57,500 people when United won the treble, the last game of the season, and I was invited to sing Nessun Dorma there. And I just walked onto the middle of the pitch, and it was like, feeding off this aura, this vibe, and I love it.
And how have you stayed so positive? When you go through dark stuff and tough stuff and difficult times, you always seem to want to be here. You always seem to love your audience more every time I see you. And you certainly give a better performance year on year, which is incredible. Vocally, you're sounding excellent. How have you achieved that? Because so many other people would have been beaten or given up.
I don't know. What you've got to take into consideration is that this is a person that has come from the back streets of Salford, a working class background, spent 7 years of my life on a production line, sticking nuts and bolts in a machine, in a lathe, literally that all day long. Sometimes I did 12-hour night shifts, which were absolutely brain draining, and come from that to being the best-selling classical artist that the UK's ever had. And that takes drive and commitment, and actually being able to accept knockbacks, being able to accept failure, and not dwell on it and let it bring you down, but actually learn from it and remember what happened and why certain things might have happened, and try to catalyse something new and fresh. So in essence, not letting them drag you down.
And avoiding the same cul-de-sacs, I presume. Never being in the same situation twice.
I like to think that when I make mistakes, I learn from them. As a result of that, I think sometimes I can be hypercritical, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing in the music industry. You've literally got to have eyes in the back of your head.
You're so talented and brilliant. What's next? We got a new album coming before the end of the. Why are you smiling? What have we got to look forward to?
Well, there's something in the workings at the moment. I can't say because the deal's not done. But if it
don't do this to me again. No, you'll ruin my night. But
if it comes off, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really good. It's a collaboration, and I think it's got really good potential. And it's been a while now since I've had a really big hit record, and I think this could be it.
Congratulations on everything. We can hear the bongs chiming on Loughborough Town Hall.
Maybe it's a sign.
We couldn't have timed that better. Russell Watson, thank you so much. You can go to the website, russellwatson.com, get all of the details for the autumn tour, which starts in September through November and December and into 2020 and probably 2030 and 40. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure, always.